Hey guys, today I'm showing you how I'm going to do a cater of baby back ribs, sausage, and bologna. I'm doing the sausage and bologna on a Hasty Bake made right here in Oklahoma and Tulsa. And then I'm going to do the baby back ribs on my offset trailer smoker. And then I'll throw some baked beans in, and we're going to surprise my mechanics for lunch. So we're going to take it all over to them and give them each a big box of barbecue. So thanks for watching. So the sausage and the bologna for this cook, I'm going to smoke on this Hasty Bake. This is a Hasty Bake Legacy model, and you can direct heat grill on it or you can smoke on it. One way you can smoke on it and control the heat is by doing this snake method of snaking the charcoal around the outside of the firebox like this, or the charcoal grate rather, and placing some chunks of wood on there. Then you light one end, and as that charcoal burns, it consumes the next briquette next to it, and so on and so forth. And depending on how much you have stacked up, you can get a wide variety of temperatures in your smoker that way. So I like to put a few at the very beginning like this, just to get it going, that are already hot. And you can see I have like 5 or 6 touching each other at once there. This is for the Polish sausage that we're doing this. For the bologna, we'll add more on because I want a little higher heat. All right, so I just lower that grate all the way down to the bottom and let this start heating up, and I put that deflector plate on there that comes with the unit. And we'll prep the bologna like I always do. The only difference is I'm going to leave them in halves this time instead of quartering it like I normally do, because each mechanic is going to get a full half. And so I'm just going to slice it that way, but it's prepped the same way it always is, where I cut it in halves or fourths and then score it on the edge, so that as that skin kind of tries to shrink during the smoking process, these cracks can open up and accept more smoke, and then you don't get a warped shape on your bologna or your sausages. So we'll score all these like I always do and get them prepped and ready for the smoker. And the Polish sausage is really easy. I've shown you how I do Polish sausage on other videos, so we'll get through it really fast. Basically, I put 3 linear scores all the way down them, and then just throw them on the smoker like that. And I'll go about an hour and a half, but I don't smoke them as hot or as long as other products. They're thin in diameter, and they're of course already pre-cooked, so they don't need to be cooked, just smoked for flavor. 200 to 225 is where I like to do Polish sausage. Again, it's not being cooked, it's just being brought up to temperature in the presence of smoke, and that just really adds a lot of flavor to these links. So I'll stack them on here and roll them around once or twice to prevent over caramelization. But really, it just takes about an hour or an hour and a half. About 30 minutes in here, you can see they're starting to open up, so I'll flip them and let the other side get that direct heat. But you can see the smoke's already taken to them. This adds a tremendous amount of flavor to what they already call a smoked sausage when you buy it. It's really good whenever you smoke them like this. All done. So you can tell when it gets that mahogany color to it. It's really hard to overdo these because they're so fatty. They don't really ever dry out or get too tough on you. But they're a real. There's a lot of difference in a smoked Polish sausage like this than if you just warm one up straight out of the store. So I'm going to turn the heat up on this just a little bit for the rest of the smoke by adding more charcoal to the stack of that snake, where it's consuming more fuel as it goes along, and that'll add a lot more temperature to that smoker. I'm just adding more on there. This is an incredibly easy smoker to use, and it grills great. It does both. It's a direct heat smoker, so the heat is right below it, versus an offset smoker that would have it off to the side like my trailer. Put the deflector place back in place there. Now we'll load the bologna. This is the Legacy model Hasty Bake, and it has a large surface. You can cook a lot of hamburgers, or more than one brisket and several racks of ribs on this. It's a good sized smoker. They're made right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. See how that bologna did not warp or bend at all? Look, that's because we put those score marks in it. It also allowed for some more smoke to get down into the closer to the center of those bologna. Now for the Babyback ribs. I always do the same thing. I use a poly bristle brush to wipe off my grill grates, and then I wipe them down and get some oil on them, and then I start a fire. I like it to go about an hour before I start cooking on it, so you get those good Sriracha and Guaycal oils in your smoke that make barbecue so good. Babyback ribs are just like a spare rib or a St. Louis. They have this membrane on the inside that you can opt to pull off or leave on. I always take it off, and it's pretty easy to do, especially on a Babyback. It doesn't fight you quite as much. I start in the center like this with a butter knife and just kind of get your hand under there and just pull it off. On a spare rib with St. Louis cut down below, this will fight you a lot more, and it kind of rips and tears more. But on a Babyback, it goes real easy. So it just takes a few seconds to do, and I think you get a little bit better texture to your rib that way. Now we'll season these up. Today I'm going to be using one of my seasonings, Payne County Bird. This is built for pork or poultry. Pork and poultry both have the same type of fat, and they're both conducive to the same types of spices. So you can use a pork seasoning on a poultry product or vice versa. This is a heavily oiled spice. You can see how it pillows apart there. I oil my spices very heavily so that they don't separate in the canister, and they go on very evenly. This one's built for dark meat fatty chicken like thighs or legs, or of course pork butt or ribs like we're doing today. So we'll coat both sides of these ribs and get them out there and get them on the smoker. I don't put any sugar on my dry rub part of my smoke. I have found that smoke penetration is lessened, in my opinion, when you put a sugary rub on your product. I apply the sweetness later. I don't know if that's the only thing or not, but I've found it to be true that if you put a bunch of brown sugar or honey or something like that on there, you do kind of put an armor to the smoke adhering into the pellicle formation with smoke on the outside of your products. I do get a better bark when I use a marinade with a teriyaki or a soy or Worcester base. This is my own marinade. It gives a beautiful mahogany sheen when you use it as a wet mop. So halfway through, this is about maybe an hour and a half in, I apply that. And now these are fully smoked, but they're not tender yet. So we're going to go ahead and take them off here and braise them. It's been about 3 hours, and you can see that nice mahogany colored bark on there made up of the bird and the marinade. Now I'll put these in foil packets like I like to do ribs. I do it meat sight down on a little bit of barbecue sauce. A little barbecue sauce on the top, just enough to where that'll kind of melt up in there and make a nice pool of liquid to cook that meat in and tenderize it. Barbecue sauce often does not take your bark off either, like vinegar or water might wash it off in that packet. I'm using Hogsbane. That is my barbecue sauce. It's a sweet, smoky Kansas City style sauce that is my competition glaze. I really like it on ribs. So back in the smoker they go, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half. And I hate to tell you, but the only way to tell is just by poking them with a skewer or something. I know it'd be nice if the internal temperature on a rib was the same every time, but it's just not. It's generally north of the 200-degree mark. So I use my temperature probe as a tenderness indicator by poking it in there, and I like it to go in there like mashed potatoes. I want it really soft. I don't like a lot of firmness to my rib. I like it almost fall off the bone. These are measuring about 202 degrees, and they are perfect. I check each rack individually before I pull them off, because sometimes you need another 15 minutes on a rack. The last step in these, and I've let these rest clear down to cool temperature, so I'm putting them on the grill. The last step is to put them on the grill with some sweet Hogsbane or Kansas City style sauce, Sweet Baby Ray's, something with some sugar in it, And this will lacquer it up and make it sweet and caramelized and even a little bit blackened on some of the parts that touch the grill. This really changes the flavor and outcome of your finished product. Please always do this. You can do it in the smoker, you know, sauce it up and turn your heater up on your smoker, but this right here is what they should look like when they're done. And I'll make sure I brought them up to a good temperature again, about 150 degrees, but very soft. That's a great looking rib, mainly because we lacquered it and we did that last grill with a sweet sauce on it. That's what makes these just really pop and really taste good. And I'm going to stick these in my hot box and do all of them each like that. So here they are. These are completely finished. So I'm going to chop these up and I'm going to start making these lunch boxes for these mechanics. They're each going to get a whole rack of ribs. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them up for them and put them in these full-size aluminum kitchen pans. And then they'll be able to have a nice big lunch. Perfect rib. These came out absolutely perfect in my opinion. This is how I like a rib to taste and look. That black char mark on the outside there where it was on the grill adds so much flavor. It's not just deep and smoky, it's also sweet and kind of caramelized and crunchy. That's what I do with all my spare ribs and my baby backs. So we'll make these lunch boxes. We'll fill them with ribs, a couple handfuls of Polish sausage, 2 pounds of that bologna, and then I made some baked beans also. The recipe is on my website. I didn't show you guys in this video. I've won a lot of awards for those beans. I really, really like those. They're a sweet bean. We'll add a little shine, a little sweetness to these things, just a little bit. And then each mechanic, I'm going to give a bottle of sauce, either this normal Hogsbane or the Hogsbane habanero spicy that I have. And each guy will get his own box for lunch. Plenty to take home. This is Integrity Auto Group. They're just outside of Bartlesville, and they are an incredible group of guys. These guys have pulled me out of more sticky situations than I can tell you. They are such good mechanics. I grew up with the owner. He treats everyone right. Everyone loves Scott and his crew. So it was a pleasure to do it for these guys. It really surprised them. They all love barbecue. I think they had a great time. Hey, thanks for watching the video, guys. We'll see you next time.